The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, that's what we're talking about here on the day. Now, we need to talk about where the Nasdaq 100 is at. Now, you're coming into a few, I don't want to say major levels, but you're bouncing at these levels, right? So you see this previous how we had back here August 4, 2023. Also the highs that we had back here August, at the end of August, and then ultimately dipping down into September. And we go to something like the 2 hour, and we can see a little bit more clearly here, right? So we zoom back in, we look where we're at. Go to like the 15 minute to give you a better view. This is the Nasdaq 100, just so you know. You're bouncing off these kind of lows on here. Basically 15.82. This is what your low that you had back there in August as well. You zoom in, it's about a little bit of a range right here that I would be watching and looking at, and that's where you're finding support right now. Okay, that's where all support is stepping in. We've had multiple wicks pushing us down in here, multiple attempts by sellers. We can look at volume as well here. Sellers definitely tried to stack in. This is yesterday, this is today. Aggressive selling yesterday, aggressive selling this morning. And ultimately, buyers just continue to step back in there, okay? Now we go into SPY. What was the level there? 351 on repeat. We continue to say this and try to bullet point this. But you just don't get that push today, right? But one thing I do want to let everyone know is when you're pushing into these targets, 351 SPY, Nasdaq, you know, 16,000 flat, ES, I think it's 4520, etc. Like these massive levels, which we're kind of sitting at now, it's not surprising when it's a little bit difficult to get through them. Now, a few things we want to look at though: the strength of sellers. Are they, stacking in via volume? Are they getting follow through? Are they getting continuation in that direction? And then ultimately, do buyers step back in? And so far from what we've seen, sellers have tried to step in, but buyers continue to step in stronger. And I would say here now on the 4 hour, almost on the daily, you're getting a bull flag here on ES into the 451 level. So am I going long at the bull flag? I mean, I have some longs established now in the market I'm going to go over today, but I'd be waiting for confirmation above this level, a retest, and then pushing back into hopefully that through 458 level as well, possibly, 453. But those are the two levels I'd be looking at right now. And so that's what we're looking at across the board. And Q, you break over this level, in my opinion, next stop. I don't want to say quite all-time highs, but you're going to get close to those levels, and you look really good right now. Again, before we go into too much as far as equities, if you want to go over that and just skip ahead, that is at the end of the video. So just skip ahead to the video if you want to see stocks I'm liking and plays I'm liking there as well. But before we go into that, I have to do two things: like and subscribe. It helps out tons. Monday through Friday, I post videos for you, so you are prepared. Again, I appreciate all love and support. The Discord link, everything's full there, so you won't be able to join. You can check and see if any spots are available, but nothing should be available right now, at least until Black Friday. If you want to see these levels on my chart as well, one of the best indicators in the game, it's Chart Prime. The link is down below. You're going to see them all throughout the video, so make sure you check them out. Now, let's get into it. So before we go into equities, I want to go over the dollar again. So what we've seen here on the dollar is that basically here on the daily, you're kind of just like consolidating sideways back into that 104.4 level. And ultimately, we're looking for that push down to hopefully the 200 SMA down here, which we talked about yesterday. So that's what you're looking at there. On the other side of it, you're seeing yields 30-year, 10-year get more and more weakness. Once again, a descending triangle forming out, trying to go down to 4.4, which again, that 2022 high, the 10 and the 30, slowly inching down to that target, which is where we want to see us go. Also, too, oil continues to get destroyed. We highlighted this here on the channel. You broke down, bear flag into the 200 SMA, broke down again. Don't know if it gets any much prettier than that. So again, the underlying fundamental indicators that have signified when the market is reversing are giving us that signal once again. Now, before I go too far as well, IWM. This is something that you need to be watching, right? So IWM hit the target of the 200 SMA right about here. You got rejected, lots of volume, stepped into this market here. Now, what you're seeing though is, watch this. This is basic. I would say this is your neckline, roughly right there. And so you have this kind of little bit of an ugly head and shoulders formed out, but you're coming back into that neckline, finding support on that 175.5, 175.7 range. That's good to see. That's what you want to see. IWM has been one of the best indicators for risk on in the market, so keep an eye on this. If this breaks above the 200 SMA, I'm telling you, I don't know how to get more excited about it. Fireworks will most likely pop off. So again, that's what I'm looking at. SPY, get above 451. IWM, the big signal, above 181. NQ above 16K. Preferably just 15.9 to get me excited back, to really seeing the pressure of bulls again in the market. Now, again, bulk of the video, today's video not going to be that long. Sorry, guys. I'm just kind of tired. I'm just a little bit out of it. No live today either. But let's talk about some of these equities that we're liking here. Number one, I mentioned Amazon. If you follow me on Twitter, I recommend doing so if you don't, because you get a little bit more of a feel of what I'm looking at. And again, some days I'm just not going to post as much. Like today, it just wasn't a lot of action. I just wasn't interested in doing anything. Wasn't going to waste my time. Amazon has become one of the more interesting stocks for me now. And I never want to sound biased, but I have to acknowledge that I might sound biased now towards Amazon. I don't think the word's emotional, but I think there's definitely a lot of interest here for myself. Now, I said below 143, I wasn't a huge fan. Today, I became a huge fan. Okay. So one thing that we're looking at here is when you get below 143, yeah, like you came down in a target of 140, but the strength from that bounce was huge. I said in yesterday's video, below 143, you're going to have some downside. And you did. But it's the reaction from that downside of what gets me excited. So you look, basically you have like this previous little demand here. You broke right through it though. So it's invalidated now. But you still reacted very strong from that. Buyers clearly off of it, pushing you back into 142.5. And they kind of making an ascending triangle throughout the rest of the day. Now, the reason for this, in my opinion, is because of Walmart's earnings and possibly a little bit to do with PPI. I think the reaction is ridiculous from Walmart's earnings. Okay, I think that's just ridiculous. Number two, you need to understand what Amazon's doing. They're one of the leaders in cloud space, cloud storage, and everything that's going on right now. So you need to understand AWS is destroying it. I don't think it's going to slow down. I think it's only going to ramp up. I think Amazon, compared to some of these big tech names, is grossly undervalued as well. You know, if we get a good look at something like Microsoft, we go to the daily real quick. You know, we talked about Microsoft when we got above 341, probably pushing back into all-time highs. There you are. You know, we go to Meta, really strong year. I mean, still looks really good as well. I ended up closing some of my Metas again today. I want to get back into those. I'll update Discord, obviously, if I get back into those, and I'll update you here when that does happen. You know, but we see Meta very strong. You know, Apple back almost into highs. NVIDIA basically at all-time highs. You know, the list goes on. AVGO at all-time highs. On and on and on this list will go. LRCX, you know, cup and handle at highs. This is probably the craziest chart I'll go over today as well. But Amazon, you know, you still have a ways to go back into highs. So I think Amazon and Google continue to be my most undervalued names that are out there. But Amazon takes the crown for now. And you need to be paying attention, right? Amazon, I do believe over the next few weeks and months, you have room to 156. And that could happen really quick. So we'll go more into that. So Amazon, I like them. And what I got for Amazon, it wasn't even for January. I bought for June, just so you know. So I have like 6-7 months on those contracts. And that's just what I want for myself for protection and to not be, and I understand where I'm entering is a little bit risky, but I just love the opportunity there. And I see the double up potential. And I really see these things really running into 155, 156 pretty quickly, especially if you get above like 146 here. I mean, you're going to be really, really, really strong. So really quick, what we look at, go over Options AI. You can check the broker out. The links down below. We love working with these guys, and we'll probably see some of the account stuff going on here pretty soon. So what we're doing is a June 21st for this coming year calls. The ones that I looked at, the ones that I got today, just to let you know. And I'm trying to be more transparent with this type of stuff too. So if you're in Discord, like, oh man, he's saying some of the plays. I don't know what to tell you. Get mad. I don't care. These are them right there. They're about $10, 1,050. Really nice. I love them. Again, I love this play. I think Amazon really has room. I feel as strongly about Amazon now as I did back in February and March when we talked about grabbing leaps, right? When it was near $100. So I can only say it so many times. I love the opportunity. I think it's great value. That's the biggest thing that I'm seeing here on Amazon. And I'm probably spend too much of the video on Amazon, but yeah. Next up, I'm gonna mention LRCX. Again, someone commented in yesterday's video like, hey, you mentioned these other names. You didn't mention CRM. Well, I mentioned that I closed some of my CRMs, and today I closed the rest of them. I'm still interested in those plays. And I'll track those options as they're moving, but I'm just showing what I'm getting in actively, what I'm getting out of actively, just to let you guys know. Now, obviously, throughout the day, I'm not going to be able to update you guys because I don't post videos throughout the day, obviously. So if you're in Discord, you see that, just to let you know. So LRCX, really interesting after hours movement. You are turning down just a little bit here, but I think LRCX is something that you need to be watching really, really, really close. The inverse head and shoulders back here was absolutely insane. But now you have, possibly your cup and handle forming out here. And again, we talked about the best looking ones out there, Amazon being one of them. But I'm going to tell you right now, LRCX is 100% one of them. Okay, I want to be really clear. We traded this thing perfectly back into these highs, but now you're in the area that this looks really similar to one of our favorite names. And I'm going to mention it here in a sec, right? So you had that bounce off of the 200 SMA, and you bounced from 570 into basically 700. Absolutely insane. All-time highs are at roughly, I believe, 730. So that's where you're at now. Very similar chart to AVGO in my opinion. Now the whole cup and handle, no, that's not there. But you know, you ranged here, you got to highs, and then you shot up. Okay. LRCX kind of sat in this range and now trying to break up. You know, Nvidia, similar action as well. LRCX is a strong name. And if this dip is here, I mean, it's going to be even more interesting. Because in all reality, Nvidia, like we said, most likely running into all-time highs. You know, we said this last week, into their earnings based on AMD, Intel, everyone else, right? So when I look at LRCX, I do like the opportunity. Now, the thing with LRCX is it's a very high-risk name, right? The spreads are pretty high. You know, it is pretty volatile, so you have to understand that when you're going to a trade like this. For myself, I'd be looking at something like January, generate those trades. And the thing is here, too, you got to get out of the money. You know, these are just, it's just the way it is, right? You have to size up a little bit of risk and you're looking out of the money. I'd be looking at 720, 725s roughly, and that's what you're looking at. Again, contracts are still expensive. If you need to, you can go further out because really what you're looking at here is pushing into all-time highs. 730s are still 2040. So honestly, about here, you know, you're not getting a crazy deal whereas you just go at 700s. It's an expensive position, but again, the contracts move. Go look at them for yourself. And high possibility on LRCX, if you break, you know, you are going to push. Important to mention too, Nasdaq ever gets this break, finally holds above 15.9, pushes into 16K. Telling you, Nvidia will push all-time highs, LRCX will push all-time highs, the rest of them will too. So that's what I'm looking at there. Again, I don't have a lot of stuff that I'm covering today. I mentioned AMD yesterday. I mentioned a lot of other names as well, but this is where I'm sitting at. I mentioned Meta as well, so I just don't want to repeat the same stuff right now. It was a very relaxed, stagnant day. In my opinion, buyers showed right back up. Sellers try to push you down, but nothing's happening. And I believe today as well. So I follow them on Twitter, but I want to make sure this is available for you guys as well. Yeah, so Options AI, me and CC, if you missed the live stream, he used to work as a market maker. So he posts some really good thoughts on his Twitter as well. And I retweeted this. But basically, he demonstrated the significance of SPY 450, SPX 4500, and how many strikes and what was happening there for potential pinning at the end of the week. And I think it's highly likely. I think it is totally highly likely. If we look at this week in general already, it's been fantastic. We look at last week, it was fantastic. You know, it's not the worst thing to get some slowdown, some consolidation at highs. It's typically bullish behavior. Next week, all we have, first of all, it is going to be a holiday week, so do know that. But also, too, we have NVIDIA earnings, which could propel us even higher. So these are all things I'm looking at. I'm excited. I like where we're at. But there's no reason to get crazy, and there's no reason for me to repeat a bunch of the same stuff. So hopefully, you understand what I'm looking at. There's no real data pulls either next week. So that's what we're looking at. I think PC is the week after, the first week of December. So it will be exciting. Things I'm watching for. Have a good one, traders.